Do you know the Muffin Man? Go ahead. You can say the next 2 lines to yourself. Okay. Good job. Yes, do you know the Muffin Man? He does not live on Drury Lane, however. He lives in your nightmares. Let me explain, because this might be somewhat confusing. The Muffin Man is not a Freddy Krueger type entity. He doesn't invade your sleep cycle. He also doesn't target your specific fears or anything like that. He's very real, let me be clear. I've never seen him, but I've seen what he has done. My mom made sure I knew the real story of the children's nursery rhyme. It most likely saved my life. I hope this saves your life too. As a child, I'd say my first solid set of memories came when I was between 3 and 5. Hard to say, right? Maybe that's late in life to start remembering things. I'm sure I can look up the average age that memories develop. I don't have that kind of determination, though. One memory always stuck with me from an early age. Again, not sure how early, but it feels like it's one of my first verified memories. My mother did her best. My father died when I was an infant. I'm almost 40 years old, so it has been a very long time she's kept the real story from me. I could probably do some digging myself, but again, I'm just not that determined. Maybe it's better to just not know some things. My mother made sure that I knew the most absolute truth of the Muffin Man, though. As much of a truth as she could convey. Speaking of my mom, same old story. Single mother raising multiple children. I was the youngest. Did odd job after odd job. Met some unsavory characters. Fell into deep depression. Gained some kind of drug or alcohol dependency problem. Congratulations, kid. You got yourself another long road to success or failure, depending solely on you with no guidance from 2 solid parental units. She was a sweet woman, though, even with all her faults. I always knew she had the light of the sun inside of her. She was never abusive to me or my brothers. She never yelled. She was just beaten down by life. The biggest shame is that I was never old enough to really see that. But I was old enough to develop my first memory. Possibly before her life took a sharp left and then a hard drop. I think we can all agree, as people, that human memory isn't at all perfect. I've heard that every time you remember something, it gets distorted just a bit. So you remember your 10th birthday thousands of times. And what does that mean? Your memory of that day is some kind of mutated amalgamation of what happened and what you think happened. I don't know. I'll say it again. I don't care that much to know. I do care that I remember singing and playing the Muffin Man with my mother. It is exactly the same. Sunlight is streaming in through the window behind her. Her raven black hair is as straight and beautiful as Sacagawea. We are both sitting, me in my lumpy, childlike way, her cross-legged. She didn't have a great singing voice, but hearing her sing the Muffin Man song fills me with warmth, even after what I have learned. I can't remember if there was a patty cake type game that accompanied the rhyme. It feels like there is, but that's where my memory ends. I've brought this up to my mom a few times. She can't remember this at all. She knows the rhyme and admits she sung this to all of us boys, but it was no more than that. No patty cake, no enthusiasm, just a motherly way to entertain her children. I wanted to go back to this nursery rhyme, one of my earliest and most pure memories. We always talk about singing the Muffin Man together when I was so very young. What she said this time changed my life. "Yeah, I remember," she slurred. Damn, Mom. Can't even start the conversation off without slurring. It's like 10 in the morning. It just makes me notice again how bad she looks. Well, all our conversations are like this now. The 5 or 6 we have a year. "Yeah, Mom. You know, I always loved hearing you sing that to me." She seemed to have a flash of sobriety in her face. "Did I ever tell you and I'm losing her again. The real story of the pastry, the thing, Muffin Man. Yeah, the Muffin Man. I ever tell you?" Holy shit, she's really out of it tonight. Looks like this will be a short visit. I took a moment to look at my mother, the woman that gave birth to me. At this moment, I saw the 30-year-old version of her. Smooth tan skin, jet black hair, smile that lasted for an eternity. As that facade faded, the current version revealed itself once again. Glazed eyes, subtle spittle forming from the side of her mouth, a human form of defeat. She looked down, seemingly because she was shutting down. But she rose her head. A moment of clarity followed. "You don't know the Muffin Man, because I don't want you to. He ruins everything he touches, for nothing more than pure enjoyment. He'll do it to anyone. I don't mean to be sexist either. There are probably female muffin women. They prey on many targets. They are legion, and they are real. He is real." I waited for the next confounding sentence. After maybe 20 seconds, I realized my mother had passed out, or blacked out. I couldn't be sure. Her eyes were slightly open, and she was breathing, but the life had left her for the moment. That was the most lucid 3 or 4 sentences I've heard from her in the last half a decade. I thanked the universe for at least giving me that. I gently guided her unconscious body down on the couch she was sitting on and covered her with a nearby blanket. The tactile feel of this blanket was questionable at best. I left her shitty apartment complex and opened my phone. I sent both my brothers one simple message: "Still insane," and walked to my car. When I arrived at my modest ranch home in the valley, I checked my phone finally. Don't text and drive. And saw I had absolutely 0 responses from my brothers. Or anyone else. That night, I slept maybe 24 minutes, 25 at best. I had visions of muffins, blood, violence. I got out of bed when the sun broke the horizon. I was determined. For the first time in many, many moons, I finally found a mission and attacked the internet like a man that had not slept for 24 or 25 minutes in the last few days. I knew where to start, but didn't know where to end. My poor mother was only clear about one thing in the last decade. The Muffin Man was bad. He, she, they are killers. She doesn't remember the fun nursery rhyme as much as the killer connotations that it meant. I searched everything I could. I came up with freaking nothing. Well, not nothing, but not much that I could use. From what I've gathered, The classic song could have come from an actual baker from 1600 London. He, or they, could have lived on Drury Lane, which does actually exist. The Muffin Man probably served or delivered English muffins, not the sweeter, plumper version that us Americans imagine. He could also, or she. You know what, I'm just going to refer to the entity as the Muffin Man, like I have been, just to avoid confusion on my end. He could also be a ragamuffin, a vagabond, a vagrant, a society outlier. In other words, he might not be a baker at all, but a dangerous man with no home, no consequences, no responsibilities. Something doesn't feel right. My left arm fell off the table. I tried to keep typing, finally noticing that only my right arm remained on the computer. As I was trying to mentally will it back to the table, my vision blurred. The darkness was coming, as hard as I fought it. It was... Do you know the... Both my brothers are staring at me. Hey guys, glad you came over. You made good time, I said. You didn't invite us, my older brother said. I laughed. Well, you're both here, and you wouldn't be if I didn't ask you to hang out. Neither of you guys ever asked me if I want to come over. No, he said. You didn't. And we're not in your house. We're in the hospital, bro. At this moment, I realized I was laying down in an uncomfortable bed. Only slightly more uncomfortable than mine at home. There was a lot of white here. That would explain it. After having a pretty decent conversation with my brothers, they informed me that I had what the medical professionals call a cerebrovascular accident. A stroke to me and you. I, along with most of you I'm sure, thought I was much too young to get a stroke. That's for old people. Turns out about 10% of adults under 45 get them. So, I'm cool and unlucky. I was lucky though, actually. I had little to no permanent brain damage. I also did not forget my memories of the Muffin Man. I had to talk to my mother again immediately. After some doctor ordered bed rest, I felt good enough to finally drive. I was feeling better. I thankfully had a waterfowl-endorsed insurance plan that covered me quite handsomely while I was out of work. I had rediscovered my love of working out through physical therapy. I was also reading more, to work my brain out. Not to mention, it's also Christmas time, even though today's a balmy 80 degrees in southern Cali. The Christmas feel is the same as it is in a snowy climate. I've always loved this time of year. I've decided that I'm going to kidnap my mom. Would that be mom napping? Either way, I'm going to take her from her apartment, forcibly if I must. I will then drive her straight to Palm Springs and throw her in the Monarch Shores Rehabilitation Facility. I know this place will work, as the middle brother in our family got clean here. Middle children, right? Her apartment complex always reminded me of the one Daniel LaRusso moved to in the first Karate Kid. The building was a big U shape with 2 stories. A biohazard pool sat in the middle, for all the residents to enjoy. I walked up to the second level, towards 211. Her door was visible as soon as you got to about the 4th or 5th stair from the top. I could already see that her door was slightly open. I'm going to save you all most of the details because I cannot bear to write them down. I'm sorry, I truly am. I'll give my best, too long didn't read summary for the internet crowd reading this. My mom was dead. I don't know how long. The police are still investigating. It couldn't have been that long, as I'd imagine a housekeeper or other staff member would have noticed her door was open. At the very least, someone would have smelled the unmistakable odor of death if she'd been there for more than a few days. The room was covered in blood. Among the plasma, I discovered a note, which I kept. I know, I tampered with the crime scene and could possibly be charged with some type of obstruction. But I could not leave the authorities with this evidence. It's not evidence. It's for me, and not the state. It was short, and I'll just leave you with the most important part. Son, he's here. I'm sorry I couldn't tell you everything. It's not your father. He is deceased. That much is true. It wasn't an accident. He died trying to defend me. Your brothers were not here, and you were in my belly when it happened. I think I broke when I saw him die. I should have never sung that song over and over to you. The Muffin Man will be coming for you next. God bless you, my little boy. I hope you never know the Muffin Man. I'm sitting here in my dark room. I just buried my mother, what was left of her. I couldn't bring myself to tell my own brothers what happened. Just another senseless murder is all I could come up with. The cops tried their best. In the end, they just didn't have enough to go on. Maybe the note would have helped. Maybe one day I'll hand it over and risk prosecution. Maybe. I don't know how she saved my life by singing this Muffin Man song to me. Maybe I'll never know. Maybe. I'm tired. I don't know where to go next. I don't know what to do next. The only thing I know is that I'm going to walk down to Ralph's grocery store. I'm going to toast up some English muffins and sing myself a little rhyme.